Thanks for sharing your Thursday with us here on RT International. Two Muslim women have been removed from a plane and questioned following a flight in America after a cabin crew member didn't like the way they were looking at her. Now, that's according to eyewitnesses. Here's a video filmed by one of the passengers. The two women were escorted off the plane at the end of the flight after it had flown all the way from Boston on the East Coast all the way to Los Angeles without incident. Now, according to the airline, the women were filming a safety briefing and therefore were reported to security. However, one of the passengers claimed he overheard one flight attendant telling her co-worker she didn't appreciate being stared at. Well, this case is far from being an isolated one. 4 Muslim passengers were taken off a plane bound for Chicago after witnesses reported suspicious activity to the flight crew. But they were cleared of any wrongdoing after questioning. And in the UK, a British Muslim who was setting off on his honeymoon was forced off a plane and questioned over terrorism. The man claimed it was connected to his religion and the fact that he had a beard. And another British man of Muslim origin was blocked from boarding a flight to Los Angeles to take his children on a trip to Disneyland. Here's what he told us.
We weren't given any explanation, and then what we tell our kids in a circumstance like that, I mean, what do we tell them? They kept asking me questions. What do we tell them? So what, I mean, I was speechless. It's like we had no rights.
And my colleague Neil Harvey heard differing opinions from the chairman of the English Democrats Party and the head of the Muslim NGO, the Ramadan Foundation.
This is the point. We have a situation now, both in the United States and in the UK and across Europe, where it's guilt by association. So not a due process, but guilt by association.
Would you agree with that, Robin? Do you think that the Muslims are being unfairly labelled and unfairly prejudiced against?
It's fair to say that most Muslims are not involved in any of these incidents. Of course, the trouble is that there are far too many that are involved, and it's not at all unnatural that people have started to get very concerned that whenever they see behaviour that seems to be slightly suspicious, people react to it. And I don't think it's completely odd
Robin, that's why I have issue with, slight suspicion. Let's base it on facts, let's base it on evidence. We've got to reject that division, because in the end, terrorists, Neil, want to divide communities, and we must not allow them to succeed.
Mohammed, just let Robin answer, yeah, please.
Islamophobia is one of these nonsense terms that people come out with to try and pretend that it's some sort of a medical issue, some sort of phobia. If people have a justifiable reason.
The mask has come off. The reality of English Democrats is now coming off.
What about if there were such a thing as Islamophobia? What about Christophobia? After all, in large parts of the Muslim world, it's the Christians that are being attacked and in many cases murdered. The first sign of a bigot who wants to, hide his bigotry and hatred towards a particular community is to start talking about Christianophobia or this phobia. I reject any violence, any bigotry from all communities. The problem the English Democrats have, the problem the far right have, is they perpetuate this narrative that somehow Muslims are a problem because of the terrorism. I object to that terrorism. I find that disgusting. I find the Christians who've been killed in the Middle East abhorrent and an affront to my faith of Islam. But that doesn't matter to these English Democrats. It doesn't matter to the far right, because they have this narrative which is Muslims, are trying to take over the world, we're trying to take over Europe, and we've got to protect our Christian heritage. People are reacting to the fact that there are quite a lot of Islamists out there causing mayhem. It's not a picking on Muslims particularly. What it is a reaction to what's actually going on out there.